The humans ignored them all, focused on what was coming. The arena doors opened and light flooded over them. Beyond was the arena announcer's voice boomed through the speakers, translated into 40 different languages simultaneously. The words echoed off the curved walls and washed over the crowd. Exhibition match. The Scarlet Talons versus Earth Squad. Standard tournament rules. Fight until elimination or surrender. Weapons are set to training mode. Armor will register hits and disable systems accordingly. Are both teams ready? The Scarlet Talons raised their weapons in perfect unison. The crowd roared. The 6 humans spread out in their starting positions. Jiho in the center. Yun and Seojin on the flanks. Doyun, Yuna, and Mina forming a second line behind them. Their hearts pounded. Their mouths were dry. This was it, begin! The word had barely finished when the Scarlet Talons moved. They formed their famous shield wall instantly. 3 warriors in front with energy shields active, 3 behind with weapons raised. The formation advanced across the arena floor like a machine, perfectly coordinated, unstoppable. The crowd leaned forward. This was what they had come to see. The cubs about to be crushed, but the humans didn't wait for the shield wall to reach them. Instead, they exploded into motion in 3 different directions. Jiho and Seojin sprinted left, their legs pumping, moving at full speed. Hyun went right faster than any of them, a blur of motion. The sudden split confused the Scarlet Talons for just a second. Their formation hesitated. That second was all the humans needed. Do-hyun, Yuna, and Mina opened fire from the center, not trying to hit the shields but forcing the Talons to keep their defenses up. Energy bolts splashed harmlessly against the shield wall, but they kept firing, keeping the pressure on. The shield wall adjusted, trying to track all 3 groups at once. But they couldn't. Their formation was designed for frontal assault, not for targets splitting and flanking. Jiho and Seojun reached a barrier on the left side of the arena, a piece of cover about chest high. Instead of stopping, they jumped onto it. Seojin fired down at the Talons from the higher angle while Jiho kept running along the top of the barrier, moving parallel to the shield wall. On the right, Hyun had reached another piece of arena equipment, a raised platform. He scrambled up it with movements that looked more like climbing than running. The Valkyrie were strong, but their scaled bodies weren't built for rapid climbing. Hyun reached the top in seconds. The shield wall had to make a choice, split the formation or stay together. Ascaratha chose to stay together, which was the correct tactical decision. But it meant they could only focus on one threat at a time. They turned toward the center where Do-hyun, Yuna, and Mina were still firing. The 3 humans immediately stopped shooting and ran, splitting in different directions. The energy bolts from the Talons' rear line tracked them but missed. "They're running like scared prey," one of the Talons said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. Laughter echoed through the arena, but they weren't running away. They were running to positions. Jiho reached the end of the barrier and jumped down, rolling to absorb the impact. He came up firing at the shield wall's right side. Seojin fired from behind him. On the other side, Hyun opened fire from his raised platform. The Talons were suddenly taking fire from 3 different angles. The shield wall held. It was designed to hold. The front line's shields could rotate to block shots from any direction. The rear line just had to be patient and pick their targets. But then something happened that the Scarlet Talons hadn't expected. Mina and Yuna didn't run to safety. They ran toward the shield wall at an angle, staying low, using every piece of cover. Before the Talons could adjust their fire, the 2 women had slid beneath the firing line and were suddenly inside the wall's effective range. "Impossible," someone in the crowd muttered. Mina and Yuna were too close for the shields to block them effectively. Shields worked best at distance. Up close there were gaps. The 2 women moved like water, flowing around the defensive positions. Mina struck at one Talon's legs, hitting the armor's joint sensors. The warrior's right leg locked up, registered as disabled. Yuna rolled under a shield swing and came up behind another Talon, hitting the exposed back armor. 2 hits registered before the warrior could turn. The shield wall's formation cracked. Not broken yet, but damaged. The crowd noise changed from laughter to surprise. Ascaratha roared orders. The formation adjusted, the rear line moving to deal with the threats inside their perimeter. But that meant their backs were exposed to Jiho, Seojin, and Hyun. Energy bolts struck the rear line warriors. One Talon's armor registered a critical hit and shut down completely. His lights went red. Eliminated, 5 Talons remained. 6 humans still active, Reform, Iskaratha commanded. The Talons tried to establish the shield wall again, but the humans didn't give them time. Dohyun had circled around during the chaos and now attacked from what had been the rear. Hyun jumped down from his platform, landing on top of one Talon's shield and driving it down with his weight and momentum. The arena erupted with noise. Half the crowd was cheering. The other half was stunned into silence. The Scarlet Talons abandoned the shield wall. It wasn't working. They switched to individual combat, relying on their superior strength and experience. One-on-one, they should dominate. They were bigger, stronger, better trained, but the humans fought as a unit. When Skratha went after Jiho, Seojin provided covering fire. When a Talon cornered Hyun, Yuna struck from the side. They never fought alone, always together. Always watching each other's backs, the match became a blur of motion. Energy weapons fired continuously. Bodies collided and separated. The crowd was on their feet screaming. Two Talons managed to corner Dohyun near the arena wall. He fought well, blocking and dodging, but they were wearing him down. Then Mina appeared, sliding between the two Talons with impossible timing. Her strikes hit both of them before they could react. One went down, armor registering elimination. The other turned to face this new threat. That was when Dohyun grabbed him. The Talon was stronger, but Dohyun had learned something during the weeks of training. He had learned an earth-fighting technique called wrestling. The Velkari had no equivalent. They fought with strikes and weapons, not grappling. Dohyun wrapped around the Talon using his whole body, taking away the alien's advantages of reach and strength. He found the armor's weak points, the gaps at the joints, and struck them repeatedly until the armor registered enough damage to shut down. 3 Talons remained. All 6 humans still active, the impossible was happening. The Cubs were winning. Skaratha realized it too. His confidence vanished, replaced by desperate focus. He rallied his 2 remaining teammates and they made one final coordinated attack. They targeted Jiho, the human leader, trying to eliminate him and break the team's coordination. It nearly worked. Skaratha was fast and skilled, his experience showing. He struck Jiho twice, hard hits that would have ended the match against a less determined opponent. Jiho's armor registered severe damage. One more good hit and he would be eliminated. But the other 5 humans converged on Skaratha's position like a storm. They came from every direction at once. Hyunlo, Yuna, Seojin from the side. Mina and Dohyun created a crossfire that forced Skaratha to choose which attacks to block. He couldn't block them all. The first hit staggered him. The second dropped his shield. The third, fourth, and fifth came so quickly that his armor couldn't process them all. The system overloaded and shut down. Red lights. Elimination. The remaining 2 Talons fought on for another minute, but the outcome was already decided. They were outnumbered 6-2, and the humans fought with a coordination that seemed impossible for beings who had only trained together for weeks. Within 90 seconds, both Talons' armors showed red. The match was over. The arena fell completely silent for 3 seconds. Then the noise that erupted was deafening. Half the crowd was screaming in celebration. The other half was screaming in shock. Cadets jumped up and down. Instructors stood frozen, unable to process what they had just witnessed. The 6 humans stood in the center of the arena, breathing hard, covered in sweat, barely able to stand. They looked at each other with wide eyes as if they couldn't quite believe what had just happened. "Did we just do that?" Hyun asked, his voice shaking. "We did that," Jiho confirmed. His legs gave out and he sat down hard on the arena floor. The others collapsed around him, laughing and crying at the same time. Across the arena, Skaratha removed his helmet. His expression was unreadable. He stared at the humans for a long moment, then did something that shocked the entire station. He walked over to where they sat and extended his clawed hand to Jiho. "I underestimated you," he said simply. "I will not make that mistake again." Jiho took his hand and let the Velkari warrior pull him to his feet. "You fought well. You're still better than us individually. But you fight as something greater than individuals," Skaratha said. "I see that now. Perhaps we all need to see it." The crowd's noise grew louder. Chants started in different sections. "Earth Squad! Earth Squad!" The words echoed and multiplied until thousands of beings were shouting them together. In the observation box, High Arbiter Velmoth turned to Ambassador Tay. "It appears I owe you an apology." "Ambassador." "No apology necessary," Tay said, though his voice shook with emotion. "Just The announcement appeared on every display screen throughout the station on a cold morning in their 10th week. The Sentinel trials were beginning in 3 weeks. Every cadet rushed to read the details, their excitement filling the corridors with noise. The Sentinel trials happened once a year. Teams from different training groups competed in combat tournaments, tactical simulations, and strategy challenges. It was the most important event at the Academy. Winners received honors, better assignments, and the respect of the entire station. Some competitions were individual, but the main event was always team combat. The humans gathered around a display screen in their barracks, reading through the rules and format. Team combat matches, Hyun read aloud. 6 versus 6. Standard weapons and armor. Victory by elimination or objective completion. We should enter, Do-hyun said immediately. We're only 12 people, Nari pointed out. We need 6 for a team. Then we choose 6 and enter one team, Jiho said. It's better than nothing. They spent the next hour arguing about who should be on the team. Everyone wanted to participate. Finally, Yuna suggested they draw lots. It was the only fair way. 6 names came out. Jiho, Hyun, Do-hyun, Seojin, Yuna, and Mina. The other 6 would serve as support crew and alternates. The next day, they registered their team. The registration officer, a bored-looking insectoid being, barely glanced at their forms. Name for your team? It buzzed. The humans looked at each other. They hadn't thought about that. Earth Squad, Jiho said finally. The officer entered it into the system. You are registered. Your first match is in 3 weeks, Arena 7. Against the Void Strikers, they had 3 weeks to prepare. Every night they trained harder than ever. The 6 team members practiced until they could predict each other's movements. The other 6 helped by acting as opponents, studying alien combat styles and planning strategies. The Void Strikers are all Chithos, Jinwoo reported after researching their first opponents. Insectoid species. Fast reflexes, good coordination, but they rely on swarming tactics. So we don't let them surround us, Mina said, already thinking. We keep moving, stay together, pick them off one at a time. The preparations consumed all their time and energy. They barely noticed when other teams started watching their practice sessions. Word had spread about the human cadets who trained during the night cycle. Some found it amusing. Others found it concerning. Escaratha found it insulting. He appeared at their practice one evening, 2 weeks before the trials. His team, the Scarlet Talons, stood behind him. All 6 were elite Velkari, wearing the red and black colors of the Academy Guard. They were not students anymore. They had completed their training years ago but stayed at the Academy as demonstration troops and security. The Scarlet Talons had won the Sentinel trials for the past 3 years. They were legends at the station. Still playing soldier? Escaratha said, his voice carrying across the empty training room. How cute. The humans stopped their exercise. Jiho stepped forward. We're preparing for the trials. Did you need something? I have a proposal, Scaratha said. He walked closer, his red scales catching the light. You cubs want to prove yourselves, yes? Want to show everyone that humans deserve to be here? We prove ourselves every day, Jiho replied carefully. Not to me, you haven't. Scaratha showed his teeth. Here is my proposal. An exhibition match. Before the regular trials begin, my team against yours. The room went silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Scarlet Talons were professional soldiers. The humans had been training for only 10 weeks. 6 against 6, Scaratha continued. Standard trial rules. We can even use the main arena. Give everyone a good show before the real competition begins. Why would you want to fight us? Mina asked. What do you gain? Entertainment, Scaratha said simply. And a lesson for all the cubs at this station. A reminder of what real warriors look like. You have made noise lately, broken some records, gotten attention. I think it is time to put you back in your place. Decline, Yuna said immediately. We're not here for your entertainment. But Scaratha had already turned to leave. I will register the match. You have 3 days to accept or decline formally, but we both know what happens if you decline. Everyone will know that the brave human cubs ran away when faced with real warriors. Your reputation will be finished before it begins. He left with his team, their footsteps echoing in the training room. The human stood in stunned silence. He's right, Rena said quietly. If we refuse, we look weak cowards. If we accept, we get destroyed, Seojin countered. They're professional soldiers. We've been here 10 weeks. We can't win this, Nari added. It's not possible. Jiho looked at each of them. He's trying to humiliate us. That's the whole point. We've been doing well and he can't stand it. So what do we do? Dohyun asked. They argued for an hour. Some wanted to accept the challenge. Others wanted to refuse and focus on the real trials. Finally, Jiho called for a vote. It had to be unanimous for the team to accept. All those who want to accept the challenge, he said. Slowly, every hand went up, even the ones who had argued against it, because deep down they all knew the truth. If they refused, everything they had worked for would mean nothing. They would always be the cubs who ran away. The next day, they formally accepted the match. The news spread through the station like fire. Everyone was talking about it. The betting pools opened immediately. The odds were 10,000 to 1 in favor of the Scarlet Talons. Some were even higher. Ambassador Tay heard about it on Earth and immediately sent a message demanding to know what they were thinking. Jiho replied with a simple message. We can't back down now. Instructor Thresh called them to his office. His face was harder than usual, his eyes colder. You are fools, he said without greeting. All of you. Probably, Jiho admitted. Skratha is baiting you. He wants to embarrass you in front of the entire station. The council representatives will be there. Every instructor. Every cadet. Thousands of beings watching you fail. We know, sir. Then why accept? Thresh demanded. Pride, stupidity? Some human concept of honor? All of those things, maybe, Jiho said. But also because we have to. You said it yourself weeks ago. We're making waves, making people notice us. If we hide now, all that progress means nothing. Thresh was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He pulled up a tactical display of the main arena. The Scarlet Talons use a formation called the Shield Wall, he said. 6 warriors, 3 in front, 3 in back. The front line has energy shields. The back line provides covering fire. It has never been broken in tournament history. Why are you telling us this? Mina asked. Because I do not want you to die, Thresh said simply. And because I am curious to see if you can do the impossible. You have surprised me before. Perhaps you will surprise me again. He spent the next hour showing them the Scarlet Talons' tactics, their formations, their weaknesses. It was more help than he had given them in 10 weeks combined. When they left his office, Yuna voiced what everyone was thinking. He believes we might actually have a chance. No, Jiho said. He believes we might survive. That's different from winning. So we're going to survive? Dohyun asked. Jiho smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. We're going to do better than survive. We're going to show them what humans can do. They had 5 days until the exhibition match. 5 days to prepare for the impossible. They trained every available moment, sleeping only 4 hours a night. The other 6 humans helped however they could, studying the Scarlet Talons' old matches, identifying patterns, looking for any weakness. Their shield wall is perfect against frontal attacks, Jinwoo said on the 3rd day. But what about from above? Or below? The arena is flat, Seojin pointed out. The arena has equipment, Mina countered. Barriers, platforms, obstacles. What if we use those? They developed a plan. It was risky. It relied on speed, timing, and the Scarlet Talons underestimating them. If anything went wrong, it would fail completely. It's crazy, Hyun said after they had explained it to everyone. Crazy enough to work? Dohyun asked hopefully. Maybe, Jiho said. We'll find out in 2 days. The night before the match, none of them could sleep. They sat in their barracks talking quietly, trying not to think about what was coming. Outside their door, they could hear other cadets passing by, all talking about tomorrow's exhibition. Do you think they'll all be watching? Rena asked. Everyone, Nari confirmed. I heard they're broadcasting it throughout the station. Even the sections that normally don't watch the trials. No pressure then, Dohyun joked, but nobody laughed. Yuna stood and looked at her teammates. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm proud of us. We've come farther than anyone thought possible. Not far enough, Jiho said, but his voice was gentle. Not yet. But tomorrow maybe we go farther still. They tried to rest. Dawn came too quickly. The match was scheduled for midday station time. They put on their armor slowly, checking every strap and seal. The armor was standard issue, nothing special. The weapons were training versions, designed not to kill but still capable of causing serious pain. As they walked through the corridors toward the main arena, cadets stopped to watch them pass. Some made gestures of respect. Others laughed or made comments about watching cubs get torn apart. 3 weeks passed, and every day felt like a test designed for them to fail. The obstacle courses were built for aliens with longer limbs. The zero-gravity combat training made half the humans sick for hours afterward. The tactical simulations used symbols and concepts they were still learning. Every challenge seemed impossible. But something strange started to happen. It began with Yuna. She couldn't sleep one night, her body still on Earth's time cycle. While the others slept, she got up and wandered through the empty corridors of the station. Most aliens needed 8 to 10 hours of sleep. The station went quiet during the night cycle. She found an empty training room and practiced the moves that Skaratha had used to defeat Jiho, over and over, alone in the dark. The next night, Hana joined her, then Mina. Soon, all 12 of them were meeting in the empty training room during the night cycle, when the rest of the station slept. They had discovered something the other species didn't know about humans. They could function on much less sleep. 6 hours was enough, 5 if necessary. That gave them 2 or 3 extra hours every night to train while everyone else rested. Again, Jiho said, breathing hard. He had just finished running through a combat sequence with Do-hyun, but faster this time. We've done this 20 times already, Do-hyun complained, but he was smiling. The bruises from their first week were fading. New ones appeared and faded faster now. In another corner of the room, Hyun worked with Seojun on timing drills. Hyun was the smallest of them all, barely reaching Seojun's shoulder. But he was also the quickest. He could change direction in a way that seemed to confuse the larger aliens during their training matches. Your size isn't a weakness, Jinwoo said, watching them practice. You just need to use it right. How? Hyun asked, ducking under one of Seojun's practice strikes. Get closer, inside their reach. Their long arms are strong, but only at a distance. When we fought the Velkari, we tried to stay away from them. That's their advantage. Get close, and suddenly we're the dangerous ones. They tried it. The next day, during official training, Hyun fought another Velkari cadet. This time, instead of circling and dodging, he rushed straight in. The Velkari's first strike missed. Hyun was already under his guard, too close for the long arms to be effective. He struck 3 times at the Velkari's center of mass before the alien could adjust. The match ended in a draw instead of a loss. Instructor Thresh said nothing, but his eyes followed Hyun for the rest of that training session. More discoveries came quickly after that. Mina noticed that the tactical simulations always followed certain patterns. The alien instructors thought in specific ways, their strategies shaped by thousands of years of military tradition. But humans didn't have those traditions. They could see solutions that the computer system didn't expect. Look at this scenario, she said one night, showing the others a training simulation on a borrowed datapad. Everyone tries to hold the center position because that's what the doctrine says. But what if we don't hold the center? What if we give it up and attack from the sides instead? That's against the rules, Nari said. No, it's against their expectations, Mina corrected. There's a difference. They tried it in the next simulation. Their alien teammates argued against the plan, but the humans ignored them and executed their strategy anyway. They lost the center position immediately. Their teammates made angry clicking and hissing sounds, but 15 minutes later, attacking from unexpected angles, the humans won the scenario. The simulation computer seemed confused, taking several seconds to calculate the results. Instructor Thresh pulled Mina aside after that session. Where did you learn that strategy? He demanded. I didn't learn it, sir, Mina said. I just looked at the problem differently. Thresh stared at her for a long moment, then walked away without another word. The physical differences between humans and other species became advantages too. Rena and Sue discovered that humans could make tiny facial expressions and body language signals that the aliens simply couldn't see. A slight nod, a small hand gesture, a look. To the Velkari, with their scaled faces and rigid body structure, these signals were invisible. But to another human, they were clear as words. The two of them developed an entire communication system during combat exercises. They could coordinate attacks without speaking a single word. The alien cadets never understood how they seemed to know what each other would do. It's like they share one brain. One frustrated Velkari complained after losing a team exercise to Rena and Sue. The turning point came during the 6th week. The endurance trial was the hardest test at the academy. Cadets had to complete a grueling obstacle course while carrying full combat gear. Most species needed to stop and rest multiple times. The record was held by a Valkyrie who had completed it with only 2 rest stops. The humans approached it differently. They had learned something about themselves during the late-night training sessions. They could keep going long after their bodies said to stop. Humans had evolved to chase prey across long distances on Earth. They could run for hours, not fast but steady, just keeping on. Yuna started the course at a moderate pace. Not sprinting, just moving. When other cadets rushed past her at the beginning, she didn't try to keep up. She just maintained her rhythm. Step after step, breath after breath. 20 minutes in, the course got harder. Some cadets were already stopping to rest, their bodies overheated. Yuna kept moving. Sweat poured down her face. Her legs burned. But she didn't stop. At 30 minutes, half the cadets had quit. At 45 minutes, only a few were still moving. Yuna passed several aliens who were bent over, gasping for air. She wanted to stop too. Every part of her body screamed to rest. But she kept putting one foot in front of the other. She finished the course in 52 minutes with no rest stops. She collapsed at the end, unable to stand, her vision blurry. But she had done it. She had set a new academy record. The other humans mobbed her when she recovered, shouting and laughing. Even serious Jiho was grinning. They had proved something important. Humans could endure. That evening, for the first time, some of the alien cadets approached them in the mess hall. Not to mock, but to ask questions. "How did you do that?" a young Valkyrie asked Yuna. "Our bodies give out. We must rest." "How do you keep going?" "I don't know," Yuna said honestly. "We just do." Word spread through the station. The humans were still losing most combat matches. They were still smaller and weaker. But they were no longer a joke. They were becoming something else, something that made the instructors watch them more carefully. Instructor Thresh called them to his office one evening. The 12 humans stood in a line, nervous. Thresh had barely spoken to them except to give orders. "I recommended your program be shut down," Thresh said without greeting. "I told the council that training human cubs was a waste of resources. I believed you would quit within 2 weeks." None of them spoke. They waited. "I was wrong," Thresh said, and those words seemed to cost him something. "You are not what I expected. You are still weak, still unskilled, but you are learning faster than any cadets I have seen. Your methods are strange. Your thinking is different, but it is effective." He pulled up a holographic display showing their training scores. "Your combat ratings are still low, but your tactical scores are rising. Your endurance ratings are now among the highest in your class. In 6 weeks, you have improved more than most cadets improve in 6 months. Jiho dared to speak. "Thank you, sir." "I am not praising you," Thresh said sharply. "I am warning you. Others have noticed your progress. Some are unhappy about it. Askaratha and his group especially. They do not like that you are making them look bad." "We're not trying to make anyone look bad, sir," Jiho said. "Intention does not matter. Results matter. And your results are making waves." Thresh dismissed them with a gesture. "Be careful. The academy is not only about training. It is also about politics and pride. You have wounded the pride of beings who do not forget such things." As they left his office, Dohyun whispered to the others, "Did he just warn us? Like he actually cares?" "Maybe," Jiho said. "Or maybe he just doesn't want the embarrassment of his assigned cadets getting hurt." But privately, Jiho thought Thresh had sounded genuinely concerned. Maybe, just maybe, they were starting to earn respect. That night they trained as usual in the empty room. They were tired. They were sore. They missed home. But when Mina suggested they could skip one night, everyone disagreed. "We're just starting to catch up," Seojin said. "We can't stop now." They trained for 3 more hours alone in the dark while the station slept around them. Above them, beyond the metal walls, stars watched their struggle in silence. The transit ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder that made Yuna's stomach flip. Through the window, she watched as the Sentinel Academy came into view. It was enormous, a ring-shaped station that could hold thousands of beings. Lights dotted its surface like stars, and ships moved around it like insects around a lamp. "That's our new home," Mina whispered next to her. Around them, the other 10 humans pressed against windows to get a better look. Even Jiho, who usually stayed calm about everything, had his face close to the glass. They had traveled for 2 weeks to reach this place, and now it hung in space before them like a dream made real. The docking procedure took 20 minutes. When the airlock finally opened, they grabbed their bags and walked into the station. The air smelled different here, like metal and something sweet that none of them could identify. The gravity felt slightly wrong too, just different enough to be noticeable. A group of aliens stood waiting in the docking bay. Most of them were Velkari, the reptilian species that seemed to run most of the military operations. They watched the humans exit the ship with expressions that clearly showed they were not impressed. One Velkari stepped forward. He was bigger than the others, with darker scales and several scars across his snout. His eyes were the color of old amber, and they looked at the humans the way a scientist might look at bacteria under a microscope. "I am Instructor Thresh," he said, his voice coming through a small translator device on his chest. "I have been assigned to oversee your training. This is not an honor. This is a punishment for a mistake I made 3 years ago. You are that punishment." Doyun opened his mouth to say something, but Jiho put a hand on his shoulder. "Not now," that gesture said. "You will follow me to your barracks," Thresh continued. "You will not speak unless spoken to. You will not touch anything. You will not embarrass me more than your mere presence already does, clear?" "Yes, sir," the 12 humans said together. Thresh turned and walked away. The humans followed, their bags bouncing against their backs. As they moved through the station's corridors, other cadets stopped to stare. Some pointed. Others laughed openly. A group of insectoid beings clicked their mandibles in what sounded like mockery. "Look at them," one alien said loudly, not bothering to lower his voice. "So small. Are they the cubs the council was arguing about?" "Must be," another replied. "I heard they still grow hair all over their heads. Like primitives." Rina's face turned red, but she kept walking. Hana's hands formed fists. Seojun stared straight ahead, his jaw tight. But they all kept moving, following Instructor Thresh deeper into the station. Their barracks turned out to be a small room in the oldest section of the station. The walls were gray metal, and the bunks looked like they had been used by 100 other cadets before them. Everything smelled like old sweat and cleaning chemicals. "This is your space," Thresh said. "You will keep it clean. You will report to Training Hall 7 at 0600 station time tomorrow. That is 5 hours from now. I suggest you use the time to reconsider your presence here." He left without another word. The door slid shut behind him. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Do-hyun dropped his bag on the floor and laughed. "Well, that was friendly. Did you see how they looked at us?" Nari said quietly. "Like we were a joke." "We're not a joke," Jiho said firmly. He chose a bunk and started unpacking. "They don't know us yet. That's all." "They don't want to know us," Minho added.
Did you hear what Thresh said?
"We're a punishment to him." Yuna sat on her bunk and looked around at the others. Some of them looked angry. Some looked worried, but none of them looked ready to quit. "So what do we do?" Hyun asked. "We train," Jiho said simply. "We show them they're wrong about us." The next morning came too quickly. The humans stumbled into Training Hall 7, still tired from the short night. The room was massive, filled with equipment they didn't recognize. Other cadets were already there, most of them Velkari. They were bigger than the humans, their scaled bodies covered in muscle. Instructor Thresh stood at the front of the room. "Today we begin basic combat assessment. You will be paired with training partners for sparring exercises. This will show me what level of skill you possess, if any." He started calling out names and assignments. The humans were paired with Velkari cadets, which made sense since they were the most numerous species at the academy. But it quickly became clear that they weren't getting random assignments. "Jiho, human, you will spar with Sakratha." A Velkari stepped forward from the group. He was huge, even for his species, with bright red scales along his spine. He looked at Jiho and showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. It wasn't a friendly expression. One by one, the humans were paired with larger, more experienced opponents. By the time Thresh finished the assignments, it was obvious what was happening. They were being set up to lose. The sparring matches began. The rules were simple enough: no weapons, fight until one person submitted or was knocked out of the ring. The Velkari had longer reach, more weight, and thick scales that absorbed impacts. The humans had none of these advantages. Jiho faced Asakaratha in the first match. The Velkari towered over him, probably twice his weight. When the match started, Skaratha moved forward slowly, confidently. Jiho circled, looking for an opening. Skaratha struck like a snake, his clawed hand sweeping toward Jiho's head. Jiho ducked, but a second blow caught him in the ribs and sent him sliding across the mat. Pain exploded in his side. "Stay down, cub," Skaratha said. "You are not ready for this." Jiho got up. Blood ran from his lip where he had bitten it. He raised his hands again. The fight lasted 2 more minutes. Scrotha landed blow after blow. Jiho tried to use his speed, tried to find weaknesses in the Velkari's defense, but nothing worked. Finally, a sweeping kick caught his legs and slammed him to the mat so hard that the air left his lungs. Match over, Thresh announced without emotion. Next pair. One by one, the humans fought. One by one, they lost. Hyun was too small. Do-hyun was too slow. Minyo was too weak. The pattern repeated with each match. By the time the training session ended, all 12 humans were bruised, bleeding, and breathing hard. The other cadets laughed as they left the training hall. Escaratha stopped near the humans on his way out. "You should leave," he said, looking down at them. "This is not a place for cubs. Go home before you get hurt worse than this." After he left, the humans sat on the training mats in silence. Their bodies ached. Their pride hurt worse. 5 hours of sleep and we get beaten up by lizards, Do-hyun said finally. "Great first day. They're better than us," Rena said quietly. "Stronger, faster, more experience." "Right now, yes," Jiho said. He stood up slowly, wincing. "But we just got here. They've been training for months or years." "We'll catch up." "How?" Mina asked. "Did you see the size difference?" Jiho looked at each of them. "We'll find a way, we have to. Because going home is not an option." That night, in their cramped barracks, the 12 humans lay in their bunks and thought about the day. Every muscle hurt. But none of them talked about quitting. Not yet. Above them, through the station's viewports, stars filled the darkness of space, cold and distant and unchanging. The meeting hall floated in the darkness of space, a massive station that held representatives from 40 different worlds. Inside the main chamber, hundreds of aliens sat in their designated sections. Some had scales, others had fur, and some looked like they were made of crystal. All of them turned their attention to the human standing at the center platform. Ambassador Tay stood straight in his formal suit, his hands clasped behind his back. He had practiced this speech for months, but his heart still beat faster than normal. This was the moment that would decide everything. "Honored council members," he began, his voice carried by translators to every corner of the chamber. "I come before you today to request admission for humanity into the Sentinel Academy program." A wave of whispers rippled through the audience. Several delegates leaned forward in their seats. Others exchanged glances with their neighbors. The High Arbiter, a tall being covered in silver feathers, raised one wing for silence. His name was Velmoth, and he had led the council for 30 years. "Ambassador Tay, your request has been reviewed by our military committee. They have concerns, serious concerns." From the left section, a reptilian figure stood up. His scales were dark green and his eyes were golden and cold. This was Commander Zareth of the Velkari Empire. His people had been warriors for thousands of years. "The Council appreciates Earth's interest in our training programs," Commander Zareth said, his voice rough like grinding stones. "But we must speak plainly. Your species is too young, too unpredictable. Your people reach physical maturity in merely 18 standard cycles. This is far too fast." Ambassador Tay kept his face calm, though anger burned in his chest. "Commander, we understand the concern, but our candidates have been carefully selected. Selected from children," another voice shouted. This came from the insectoid section, where the Chithos delegate stood on multiple legs. Her voice buzzed through the translator. "Your proposal suggests sending humans who are barely 16 cycles old. At that age, our young are still in learning pods. The Velkari youth are still being taught basic mathematics. How can you expect us to train warriors from cubs who can barely think?" The chamber erupted in agreement. Delegates clicked, chirped, and roared their support. Ambassador Tay waited for the noise to die down. He had expected this reaction. "Members of the council," he said firmly, "humanity may be young as a species, but we have survived on a difficult world. Our candidates are not children by our standards. They are trained, disciplined, and ready to learn." "Learning is not the issue," Commander Zareth interrupted. "The issue is safety. Human young are emotional creatures. They are impulsive. They fight among themselves. The psychological reports we have studied show concerning patterns of aggression and reckless behavior." High Arbiter Velmoth raised his wing again. "The commander makes valid points. However, I have read Ambassador Tay's full proposal. He suggests a trial program, a small group carefully monitored." "A waste of resources," muttered a delegate from the back. "Perhaps," Velmoth said, "but humanity has proven to be surprising. They built star-capable ships in less time than any species in recorded history. They unified their world in just 2 centuries after discovering alien life. Maybe they deserve a chance to surprise us again. Commander Zareth's eyes narrowed. And when these cubs fail? When they injure themselves or others? When they prove unable to handle the mental stress of combat training? Then the program ends, Belmoth said simply. And humanity waits another generation before trying again? The silence that followed was heavy. Ambassador Tay felt sweat on his palms. Everything depended on this moment. I propose a vote, Belmoth announced. A trial program. 12 human candidates. They will be placed in standard training groups with other species. They will receive no special treatment. If they cannot meet the standards, they will be sent home. If they cause problems, the program terminates immediately. They should be kept separate, Commander Zareth said quickly, not mixed with our elite candidates. It would not be fair to subject our warriors in training to the chaos of human cubs. Belmoth considered this. Agreed. They will be placed in a separate training track. Instructor Thresh will oversee them personally. Ambassador Tay wanted to protest the segregation, but he held his tongue. A partial victory was better than no victory at all. All those in favor? Belmoth called. Lights appeared above various sections of the chamber. Green for yes, red for no. Ambassador Tay counted frantically. Green, green, red, red, green. The votes came in slowly, each one feeling like a lifetime. When the final count appeared on the main display, Belmoth nodded. The motion passes by a narrow margin. Ambassador Tay, your trial program is approved. Select your 12 candidates carefully. The eyes of the galaxy will be watching. Ambassador Tay bowed deeply. Thank you, High Arbiter. Humanity will not disappoint you. See that you don't, Commander Zareth said coldly. Because when your cubs fail, and they will fail, we will remember this day. We will remember that humans thought they were ready before their time. The chamber began to empty as delegates filed out. Already gossiping about the decision, Ambassador Tay stood alone on the platform for a moment, then walked quickly to the communication room. His hand shook slightly as he activated the quantum link to Earth. The signal took only seconds to reach the training facility in Korea. General Park's face appeared on the screen. Well? The general asked. We got it, Ambassador Tay said, and he couldn't help but smile. 12 slots. Tell them to start packing. Back on Earth, in a military compound outside Seoul, 12 young people sat in a briefing room. They had been waiting for 3 hours, barely able to sit still. When General Park entered the room, they all jumped to attention. At ease, the general said. He looked at each of them. Jiho, tall and serious. Hyun, the smallest but fastest. Do-hyun with his constant grin. Minyo, who never seemed to get tired. Sojin and his perfect aim. Jinwoo, who could fix anything. The women were equally impressive. Yuna never gave up on anything. Hana could run for hours. Mina saw patterns others missed. Rina moved like water. Nari had a gift for languages. And Sue, quiet Sue, who noticed everything. The council has approved your admission, General Park announced. The room exploded with cheers and shouts. Several of them hugged each other. Do-hyun pumped his fist in the air. Even serious Jiho allowed himself a small smile. Listen carefully, General Park said, raising his voice over the celebration. This will not be easy. They think you are children. They think you will fail. Every alien at that station will be waiting for you to prove them right. Then we'll prove them wrong, sir, Jiho said firmly. General Park nodded. I believe you will. You leave in 3 days. Pack light. Train hard. And remember that you represent all of humanity up there. As the 12 candidates filed out of the room, already talking excitedly about the journey ahead, General Park watched them go. They were so young, so confident. He hoped that confidence would be enough. In the cold silence of space, the Sentinel Academy waited for them like a predator watching new prey enter its territory.